What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten football channel. Michigan once again had a very difficult schedule in 2019. They had to play Penn State and Wisconsin on the road. They had Notre Dame and Ohio State at home, but still, those four games alone are really tough. But because they had two of those big games at home, both Notre Dame and Ohio State, I thought it was their year. I thought it was their year to beat Ohio State. I thought it was their year to win the division championship, but it was once again disappointment for Michigan in 2019. Is the 2020 schedule any better? Does this schedule set up in a way that maybe they could get it done this year? We're going to take a look at it and see, but again, I thought last year was their shot. So let's go to the schedule now. They open up the year on the road at Washington. How about that? Ohio State plays Oregon on the road. Michigan plays Washington on the road. So you got Big Ten, Pac-12 matchups early in the season. Going to be a difficult game. Washington, one of the top programs, of course, in the Pac-12, but it's a winnable game for Michigan. Washington loses Jacob Eason at quarterback, so they're going to have a new quarterback. I don't really know who's going to be favored in this game right now. It's a tough one to call. Michigan's going to have a new quarterback as well. So that's a big swing game, I think, for these two teams. The winner of this game is probably going to have a pretty good year, and the loser may have a really disappointing year. Big game to open up the season. Michigan on the road at Washington, and then on September 12th, they'll play Ball State at home. You should be able to take care of business in that game. On September 19th, it's Arkansas State at home. Should be able to take care of business in that game as well. Although Michigan struggled against Army last year, barely won that game. Army went on to have a really rough year. So you can't take these games for granted. You can't just expect to win. But more than likely, I think Michigan will take care of business in those two games. And then they play Wisconsin. Wisconsin had the big win last year. Can Michigan get some revenge playing at home? And then it's Penn State after that. So the two of the teams that beat them last year, they're going to play back-to-back, Wisconsin and Penn State, September 26th, October 3rd. Home games, huge games for Michigan. If they're able to beat Washington and then win these big games at home, they could really go on to have a very nice season. But the schedule it's pretty tough, because after that, you got a rivalry game. It's October 10th on the road at Michigan State. Michigan State, I think, is not going to be a top 10 team or anything like that, but we know what happens in this game, and I think it could be a good one. And then there's a sneaky game there on October 17th on the road at Minnesota. Minnesota has proven now that they are one of the top teams in the Big Ten. They have to go on the road for this game. That's pretty tough. You're talking about your first, 7 games of the season you play on the road at Washington, Michigan State, and Minnesota. And then you also have Wisconsin and Penn State. So five of the first 7 games for Michigan are all very losable. Games that they could lose. If things start going downhill for them quickly with this schedule, Jim Harbaugh may not survive the 2020 season, and it could be because of this schedule. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I don't think they're going to lose all those games, but it's possible. It's possible. It is a very tough start to the season when you look at this schedule, and it does slow down after that. The rest of the way, it's actually, you get a 4-game stretch here where they will be favorites again. On October 24th, they'll play Purdue. Purdue's expected to be improved this year, get Rondell Moore back from injury. Not going to be an easy win, but Michigan should be able to win that game. They're going to be clearly the more talented team, and they're playing at home. And then they have Maryland on November 7th. Maryland was a disaster last year, and again, the game is at home, so you would expect Michigan to win that game. On the road at Rutgers on November 14th. And by the way, their bye week comes between Purdue and Maryland. An interesting spot for that bye week. I think Michigan's a team that would like to have that bye week maybe earlier in the year, maybe after Penn State, or even earlier than that, maybe after Wisconsin, because of that brutal start to the season. But they throw it in between Purdue and Maryland. So again, another way that this schedule is not going to help Michigan. It is a tough schedule. Maryland at home, then Rutgers on the road on November 14th. It's a road game, but it's Rutgers. They should be able to take care of business in that game. Indiana was improved last year. They should be pretty good again this year. Michigan gets them at home. I think the biggest problem for this game could be looking ahead to Ohio State. But if they bring their A game and play to their capability, to the talent that they have on their roster, they should be able to beat Purdue, Maryland, Rutgers, and Indiana. And then it's a road game against Ohio State to close out the season. So, again, we go back to those first 7 games and how tough those are going to be. Then they get a little break, and then it's the big one against Ohio State at the end of the season. And if you want to just narrow it down even more, just look at the stretch from Wisconsin to Minnesota. Just those 4 games in a row. Wisconsin and Penn State at home, Michigan State and Minnesota on the road. This is a very tough schedule. You're playing probably the 2 top teams in the West in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Maybe Iowa's in that conversation. Maybe Nebraska surprises this year. But all in all, I would say that those are probably the top 2 teams out of the West. You've got a road game against a Power 5 team in Washington. It is a brutal schedule for Michigan once again this year. And I think that's a big part of why they haven't been able to get over the hump. It's because of these schedules. Michigan has consistently had one of the toughest schedules in the Big Ten each and every year. They've been scheduling the big non-conference games, been playing Notre Dame. It seems like they always have a tough draw out of the West. And once again, the schedule will be very tough for the Wolverines in 2020.
Thank you for watching this video. If you're a Big Ten football fan, please subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts down in the comments below. And for the latest in Big Ten football, keep it right here.